Hey crafty people, welcome back to my channel, and in case you're new here, I'm Sarah, also known as Craft Nerd because I'm a nerd who loves to craft. I do paper crafting, card making, junk journaling, and mixed media art. Let's get crafting! Welcome to my channel, and today we are going to have a play, or I'm going to have a play, in my Dina Wakley Ledger Journal, which I bought last year, and this is the very first time I am actually using it. And I am going a few pages in because I want the page without some writing on it, because what we're going to do is a mixed media piece that is inspired by the opening lines to the Reading Rainbow song, and I want to put the lines here, so I figured not having ledger writing would be good for where I want to put the lyrics in. And what I'm going to start by doing is something I've seen a few YouTubers do to protect the other pages in the book from like any seepage. I am going to stick some washi tape down the middle to cover up the seam so that, you know, it doesn't seep through where we have the holes from the signature being put in. And I am going to use some glue with this to ensure it stays. And then the next step is I'm going to put some white gesso on the whole thing, just to kind of knock the ledger into the background a bit, without covering it up, because I want it to show through, but I don't want it to be the main focus, if that makes sense. And this is some Aall and Create. It's Heritage Scroll, number 76. Now that we've got that on, I am just gonna spread a thin layer of white gesso over this whole thing. Now that I'm looking, I'm like, I don't think I have a good brush. Oh, I do have a brush. Okay. So you can see it's not covering up the ledger, it's just kind of knocking it back a bit. So I'm going to cover this whole thing, and then I'm going to leave it to dry, and then I'll come back. And actually I'm going to grab a couple scrap misprint papers. So I don't get white gesso or anything else all over any of the other pages. Let this dry completely. I'm gonna wash off my brush, and then I'll be back. Okay, so it's dry, and I want there to be a blue sky, but again, I don't want to cover up the ledger completely, so I've pulled out my DecoArt DecoArt Media Fluid Acrylic paints, and I've grabbed a Cobalt Teal hue to do our blue sky. And again, I'm just gonna put some paint on and smear it out. And this is transparent paint, so we should be able to see everything through it once we spread it out. I'm gonna add a little water just to thin it. paint on the other side. The whole point of putting the papers down was to avoid that, and I think it just facilitated that. Oh well. I'll just have to cover it up when I do whatever I do on the other side. And I know this is not like the smoothest coat of paint and it's a little splotchy, but that's okay, because really I was just looking to get the color blue on, and then because we're gonna have a lot of other stuff going on, so it's mostly just for the color. Though it's a little thicker over here than I'd like, so let's see if we can thin that out a little bit over. Kind of liking the like effect I'm getting by misting. Some spots it's going like weird splotchiness, which I kind of like, just adding more texture to the background. All right, I'm gonna leave this to dry, and then we're gonna come back and do next steps. Okay, so it's dry. I'm not sure putting the papers actually did much good. I don't know what is actually on screen. Not the top or the bottom of this. It's just too tall. But yeah, I ended up getting paint on the other side. It's fine. So next step is, what I'm planning on doing is putting up a rainbow pile of books on either side. So at the bottom, I think the bottom's now on screen, maybe. So I've got my books prepped because I want to kind of see where they're going to be, because I want to do some stenciling in the middle. And I will explain how I created the books, because it ended up being way more complicated than it probably should have been. So I'm going to have books going there, and I just want to make like a little pencil mark so I know not to go like past there with my stenciling, and I'll do it on the other side as well, just to kind of give me a little bit of a guide so I'm not stenciling where I'm going to stick these guys. Now, to make these, I took some of the packing material that I have. I stamped a couple stamps I have from a set by Darkroom Door called Bookworm, and it's DDRS 139. And I stamped with Versama Fine Clair. Flipped it over, then inked the books in a rainbow of colors using my Dr. P.H. Martin's Bombay India ink, because once it's dry, it's waterproof. And I didn't love it when I got done with it. And I did a sample one that I threw out. I crumpled it up, did I? Yeah, of course I did. So I was testing it. I was like, oh yeah, that'll work if I colored on the opposite side. When I got done doing them and I held them on the page all cut out, I didn't like them all that much. So I then glued them onto some white cardstock using my matte medium, so that they'd stand out more and have a little bit more vibrancy to them. So that's what I did, and then cut everything out. So we're gonna set those guys aside for now, and I'm gonna do my stenciling. And hopefully you can see. Let me check. Yes, you can just see. And I've got a stencil by Stamperia, and I thought this would work out nicely along my bottom to stencil, and I'm gonna use my Tim Holtz Texture Paste Opaque. And so we are just going to stencil some of that on and do flowers along the bottom. And I may adjust this so that I'm not like in the crack of the book with a ton of paste. And I also want to stencil, but not with paste, some butterflies. And I meant to do that first and forgot. So we'll do that after the paste dries, because I don't want to end up sticking my fingers in the paste. I think this may not be clean spatula, because I'm like, where is the pink coming from? Or the stencil may have pink on it. I'm not sure where the pinkiness is coming from. Now I'm gonna shift this over and try not to get it too much into where I have already put paste, so that I don't mess it up. I think I must have used this stencil before, and
used like pink distress ink through it, and that's why it's showing up a little pink. I don't know how well that's showing up on screen, but yeah, we're definitely getting some pinkiness in the paste. It's not staying white. Trying to get this on at the right like thickness. That's why I keep going back over here, because I'm like, it's not thick enough, but I don't want it too thick. Okay, that did not mess up what I had already stenciled. There we go. All right, I am going to go clean my stencil and leave this to dry completely, and then we'll come back and continue working on this. Okay, so our paste is dry, and I actually really kind of like how it looks. I want to go ahead and put the books along the side so I know where they are. But I also want to ink the edges because I didn't do a perfect job cutting everything out. I'm going to use my Black Soot Distress ink because I'm planning on just gluing these down with my art glitter glue, so there's not going to be an issue with the ink bleeding when I do it, and I don't think I'm going to do anything wet over top, so that's not going to be an issue. So let's go ahead and do that. Right, let's glue those down. Okay, next I'm pulling back our stencil, and I want to stencil some butterflies on, and I think I'm going to do like 7 of them, so I can do 1 in each of the rainbow colors we've got going down the side. And I want to grab, I need brushes and inks. Let me get that, I'll be right back. So I've got my VersaFine, because that will be permanent. This way, if I do something else on top, I won't have to worry about it. And I'm a little worried, but we're going to go for it. Don't know how well it's going to show up, but as I'm just adding to the background, it doesn't have to be prominent. All right, that works. So we've got red. Let's do orange, and some of this may get covered up because I plan on adding some dimensional butterflies on as well, and the wording, but I just kind of want to add to the background some additional butterflies. It's very faint, but I'm okay with that. Probably should have put the yellow one there. sure how well the blues are going to show up, but we will give it a try. That one actually showed up pretty darn good. Like that. I kind of wish the green and the yellow were a little darker. I do have fossilized amber and peeled paint in archival. Let's try going over them with that color just to see if we can get it so that they show up a little better. Now the tricky part is going to be lining up the stencil again. Especially with it so faint. I think that's it. All right, let's give this a try. That's better. I like that a little bit better. And I think I did the stencil the wrong way around. Ooh, that's part of why it didn't line up. I had trouble lining it up, but it was faint enough before that I don't think the fact that I didn't quite get it lined up right is all that noticeable. All right. That's a bit better. I like that better. Oh no, I got smudge on there. Let's see if we can get that off. All right. Okay, I'm gonna set this aside and let it dry completely. I do need to clean my hands up, but I want to show you the next step is I want to put on the lyric from the song, which is butterfly in the sky. I can fly twice as high. Take a look. Oh, that's high. It's in a book, The Reading Rainbow. That's what we're putting on the page. And so I'm going to do the technique of scribbling. Like I wrote this out on a lined pad of paper, did it onto the transfer paper or tracing paper, and now I'm going to take a pencil, if I can find one, and scribble behind so I can transfer it onto the page, just because I didn't want to mess up, and I have a tendency to be messy in my handwriting if I'm not being careful enough. And so I figured this way I could just trace over the words and it'll be very faint on the page this way. Definitely fainter than if I used carbon paper, which I'm afraid I'll just get carbon paper smudge all over the place if I did that. So then what I'll do is I'll go back over and outline each letter again to put it onto the page. I'll do that off camera because I don't think you need to see me doing that, and then do maybe some of the lettering on camera. So I'll be back once I've cleaned up and everything's dry and we're ready to go. Okay, so I went ahead and did most of the lettering because I knew I was going to be like head over the page blocking the camera. I don't know how well you can see the tracing I did, but there you can kind of see the impression from rubbing the pencil on the back and then writing on there. And for the last word, I am going to do each individual letter because there's 7 letters and I got 7 colors for my rainbow. So I figured I'd do that on camera. And I am using my Dr. P.H. Martin's Bombay India ink that I used for coloring these. So it's the same colors. like how that came out. I need to let that dry and pull out some stuff to make some additional butterflies, because I think I want to make some book page butterflies to go on that will pop up and pop color-wise more kind of like the books. And so I'm gonna do a couple of those on here. So I need to get that stuff together and let this dry so I don't stick an arm in it and mess it up, and then I will be very sad. I also think I may want to go over the yellow one more time just to try and darken it up. So I'll be back. Okay, so we're all dry and ready for the last step, which is I want to add some cut out stamped butterflies. And I've pulled out, I'm going to use these guys, which are Prima Marketing Finnabar stamp set called Don't Forget to Fly. And I've grabbed out from my stash of book page some inked up book pages. So these were ones I probably was cleaning up from doing other inking. So it's a bunch of different book pages. And I am just going to grab a stamping block, a stamp, and my VersaFine Claire, because that's going to get me my best stamped images, I think. And just stamp on my inky book page and cut out butterflies. I'm having all kinds of troubles with this one. Don't know if it's the block needs cleaning or the stamp, but we're definitely having some issues here. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and fussy cut these guys out. I don't think you need to see me doing all of that, and it'll take a while, and I'll be back. Alright, I've got them cut out, and I'm gonna give them a little bit of shape. So I'm gonna use my mat because it's squishy, and just some ball tools to add a little shape to the wings, because I'm just gonna glue the bodies down. And I know it's going in a book and it's gonna get smushed shut so that they're not gonna stay up. But I figure if I at least start by giving them a little bit of shape, I can fluff them when I turn to the page. I'm not going to do the orange one because I know that book page is super brittle. Although I feel bad not doing it, but I'm worried it's gonna crack. Let's go gently. Yep, see, it's cracking. It's cracking. All right, we're gonna leave that alone. We're gonna bring the book back. We're gonna figure out placement. And I may not use all of them, but I probably will. All right, we need a big guy here. And I think maybe there. Kind of want to stick one there. Maybe there. And either there. I don't know what's showing on screen. Let me zoom out since. Oh, everything's showing on screen. Excellent. There we go. I can't decide if I want him here or maybe here. I think I like that better. All right, let's glue these guys on. Grab a pen and draw on some antennae. I'm gonna grab my white gel pen to put the date and my initials at the bottom. And there we go. My first page in my Ledger art journal is finished, and I am really happy with it. It makes me smile. This idea has been floating in my brain for a couple years now, so I am glad I finally got it out and onto a page. And if you want to see me do more work in this art journal, leave me a comment down below and let me know. Otherwise, that's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, please do all the things that let YouTube know you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave me a comment down below. Thanks for joining me, and happy crafting!